story of Afterimages has got to start when I met Barry. That was probably the summer of 1979. I was going to UCLA and living in Westwood Village, and I had just gotten my first car and was mobile and wanted to get things going. And so I put an ad in the recycler which said something like, "New Wave and Beyond Vocalist Seeks Band." And Barry answered the ad and asked me to come on down to his place. He lived on Wilshire Boulevard, also in Westwood, not far, near where the Hammer Museum is now, in one of those courtyard apartments that got torn down and replaced with huge high-rises now, but back then. And when I got there, it was like a cave, dark. I couldn't tell you what it looked like. I couldn't tell you how he lived. I could barely tell you what he looked like after that first meeting. But we talked about music. We probably connected on like television and Pere Ubu, who both liked Doors. Doors had just come out with the American Prayer record, and maybe Patti Smith Magazine. Those are some bands I was listening to. I know he played me The Fall, Futures and Pasts, and Damaged Goods by Gang of Four. And I showed him my lyrics, my writings, and we sort of hit it off, and we decided we'd try to work together. So we were going back and forth, trying things, and we eventually played a house party sometime that year with his friend Gary. Pierre Lambeau was his stage name, and he was playing synthesizer. Barry, aka A Produce, that was his stage name from a previous band. He continued on with that. He was playing guitar, and they were doing a sort of a drone, atmospheric kind of thing. And I tried to recite or sing, or I can't remember what, but I do remember I thought it sucked. So we didn't continue, and drifted apart, and I started working on things on my own. And later the next year, or in spring probably of the next year, he called me and said, "Hey, I got together with these guys, and I'd like to hear what we're doing." So he gave me a tape, and that was a tape with Rich Evac on bass and Holland D'Annunzio on drums, and it was pretty good. It's exciting, and we started working together, and things started to click, and we started writing songs. And one of the songs I had when I came into the band was called Afterimage, and that's what we ended up calling the band. I think that was Barry's idea. And we were pretty much ready to gig. One of our songs did come up in a kind of interesting way. On July 4th of 1980, we went to the beach. The whole band and some friends went to the beach up near Ventura County line. And except for Holland and his friend, we all dropped acid. So we're at the beach, dropped acid. Barry had brought a portable cassette player, handheld portable cassette player, and he had Joy Division. And he said, "Here, listen to this." So I'm listening to Joy Division. First time I'd ever heard Joy Division. And I'm, wow, whoa. And he comes up to me and he keeps reciting lines that I've written, like my heaviest lines, like, and it's like, whoa, too much. And that's where we kind of kept circling back and forth, and other people were kind of circling for their own reasons, and I got this vision in my head, satellite circles, and that's where the song Satellite of Love came from. I think that shortly thereafter, maybe even the next rehearsal, Barry had his riff, I had my lyrics like the next day, and that was that. So we were ready, and we had our first gig in October of 80 at Joey Kill's in Burbank. And after that, we started gigging pretty regularly. And a month later, Barry booked us some time in a studio, and we went in and recorded 4 songs for our first single. And we put The Best Two, Strange Confession, and The Long Walk on there. And we put it out in January, and it started to sell. We put it out on, we named the label Contagion Records because Rich, about the time we started, Rich had started this magazine called Contagion, which was basically a subscription, not a subscription, a submission magazine. People, creative music and art people would submit things, and he would just print them. It wasn't very curated, and so it was kind of an open forum. And so it seemed like a good fit. Contagion magazine, Contagion Records, and that's how that came about. I think all of us at one time or another submitted something to Contagion, and we're doing pretty well. And we even got played on the local alternative station, K-Rock. Played us during the day one time. I heard it on the way home from someplace. And it came to us, I don't know how, the information came to us that if we put a gram of coke up this guy's nose, we'd get played more. Now, a gram of coke was $100 at the time, and that was a lot of money to me, and I think to the rest of us. So we didn't end up doing that. Who knows? So we were gigging pretty regularly. Sometime in the summer, Barry booked some more studio time, and we recorded the tracks for 6 tracks for Fade In. And but Barry had been financing the stuff, and he ran out of money. He ran out of money at the end of recording. So we were kind of dead in the water because none of us were really making any money. I had just graduated in June from UCLA, and none of us were, had jobs that made money really. And so I went to my father and borrowed the money to finish the record, and so we finished it. And I don't know, but Barry may have had some resentment of having put all this money into it and not gotten it back out. He did start to talk in rehearsals like, I'm the leader of the band and you guys should follow me and do what I say. I've done all this stuff, and he had. But my response was something like, well, yeah, great. When you're leading us where we want to go, we'll go there. I think he wanted to move farther and faster. We were starting to write songs that were less structured, more drone-ish. And I think he wanted to move farther and faster, farther and faster than the rest of us. Where I wanted to go was more, have a little groove, a little more feel to it, a little more backbeat, I guess. And I said so. What Holland and Rich wanted, I don't know, because I don't think they said. So we're moving in that direction. Some tensions coming up in the band. Now, Barry starts complaining about having to drive Rich, who didn't have a car, to rehearsal. Now, they lived in Hollywood, and we rehearsed at Holland's house most of the time. And he lived just over the hill from Hollywood, and I lived all the way on the west side. So my thing was like, well, what can I do about it? I can't have any influence here. I can't talk to Rich for you or anything. So I think that was irritating. And then eventually, Produce came in one day and says, points at Rich, either he goes or I go. And I don't know if I said it right away, but I basically said, okay, then go, And that was basically the end of the original lineup. Which was a shame. Towards the end, we were getting some pretty good gigs. We got gigs at the Whiskey. We had supposedly gotten some gigs that got canceled with bigger bands, Chrome and the Lounge Lizards. And we got our final gig was with supporting Suburban Lawns. And that was the end of the initial thing of Afterimage. I tried to lead the band after that, and Rich quickly dropped out. He said he didn't want to be in a funk band. And Holland dropped out not too long later. Basically, I think he was disillusioned with he said it was just such a negative, all the energy was negative. I think instead of being a positive, joyful thing. So he quit and, never looked back, quit music and never looked back. And I released some albums subsequently under the Afterimage with help of, some friends and stuff, and mostly on my own. And eventually I retired the name because so many other Afterimages started appearing. And and this is about 2000, and you start seeing them on the web and stuff. So I just decided it'd be better to quit than to fight, because it wasn't exactly the most dynamic concern at the time. Had I not been so young, I was 21. When the actual band got together, I was 21. Had I not been so young, maybe I could have helped with a little more life experience, help keep the band going longer. But it's possible that may have deprived the LA music scene of what Produce went on to do with his transport tapes and his solo recordings. I owe a lot to Produce, I think. He meant a lot to me, in a way. He was an important person in my life. He's the first person who really valued what I was trying to do, my lyrics and stuff, what I was trying to say. He put that band together and focused it and got stuff done with a lot of his energy. So I really appreciate that, and I, sorry, he passed away in 2011, and may he rest in peace, I guess. Thanks for listening.